Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It's almost been a year since I made the last video on my dwarf Schefflera Bonsai. In the previous videos on this tree, I had it defoliated for last year's club show, and this year I want to show it in full leaf. After defoliating the tree for last year's club show, I've allowed the tree to grow unrestricted for almost a full year. And you can see it hasn't put on a lot of growth, it hasn't gone really big and wild. And that's because it's quite root bound in the pot and it'll need repotting this winter. So it should look quite nice for this show after a bit of pruning. The lowest branches on this tree come up from the trunks at an angle, and I want to grow them longer, and that'll allow you to see in at the trunk line better. Right now the canopy is quite low and you have to bend down to see the trunks underneath. So as this tree grows larger, the main trunk lines will get exposed more and more. Right now the trunk line is hidden below this canopy. There's a lot of leaves hanging down, so I'll need to prune it back so you can see the trunk line a little more clearly. In the past I've tried just pruning away these front leaves, allowing you to look in at the trunks and the branches and kind of leaving the leaves at the back quite full and low. But I found that doesn't look so good. I found it looks better kind of pruning the entire canopy up to a certain level so you can see right through the trunks and branches and out the back of the tree. If you have that backdrop of leaves behind all the trunks and branches, it just looks confusing and messy and it's hard to see anything. So today I'll start by pruning off all these lower leaves here in the bonsai zone. Alright, here I go pruning the lower leaves. So any leaves that are hanging down like that, I can prune off. Another one here. Like that. Another one here. Here. So that's just helping to open up the front of the tree here so you can see in at the trunks. I've got the front cleared out so you can see in there now, and now I'll come around the sides and the back and get rid of all those low hanging leaves. So I'm around the back now, pruning off these leaves hanging down. There's some around the sides here I need to get also. There's a lot of little branches kind of coming off the trunks, which is kind of lower than I wanted the top of the canopy. So there's two choices. I can grow these out as further branches and, you know, eventually they'll grow up into the canopy. Or I can prune them off and just, you know, go with what I have. So I'll have to decide what I want to do. I do like having lots of branching coming off the trunks, so I hate to remove branches just for the sake of cleaning up the canopy for the show. So I might just leave those for now. I'll just sort of defoliate part of them and they'll grow in again, kind of like that. That's not bad. It's quite open at the back now. You can see through all these trunks, so that's cleaned up that, you know, lower part of the canopy quite nicely. I've got the lower part of the canopy pruned up, so now I want to tackle the top, reducing it in height, getting it more compact, and getting that overall umbrella shape in check. So right now it's pretty lopsided, and there's a lot of shoots sticking out of the profile of the canopy. So the first thing I want to do is see how low in the canopy I can go and still have leaves on the tree. I don't want to prune it so there's a bare spot in the canopy, but I do want to reduce the height as much as I can. I'll start the pruning on the canopy by getting rid of all these leaves that are sticking up out of the profile. So like this one, there's one here, there's one here, there's one here. These branches, as they grow longer, they gain vigor, and the leaves start out really small, and then they get larger and larger as the branch grows longer. So I'm hoping to be able to prune it back to some of those, you know, those first emerging small leaves on the branches. Our KW Bonsai show is on September the 7th this year, 2019. So I've got just over a week to get all of my show trees prepared. And I put 24 trees on the list of trees for the show because they wanted to have lots of trees in the show. So I'm going to be busy in this next week getting a lot of trees prepared. I'm just keeping that umbrella shape in mind as I'm pruning, curving front to back and curving side to side. And from the top view it looks like a big oval. I'll come out front now and see how it all looks. I'm out front now having a look at the tree, and the trunks look quite insignificant because there's so much green on top and the green canopy is very thick. So I definitely have to reduce that down in height. And I would say, I probably have to reduce the green canopy by half. So I've got to, take half the height off the tree. Otherwise it just makes those trunks look like nothing. They just look like skinny little sticks under there. So I will try and do that. I'll start at the apex and start pruning away until I can get it reduced in height. And I'm still a little heavy on the right hand side. My umbrella shape isn't perfect. It's quite, it's not very good on the right side, right at the edges there. It's a little thick, so I will work away at it. I don't think I can get the canopy any lower than that. I'm kind of down to, any more pruning and it'll have no leaves on top. So I'm going to come out front and see what that looks like, if that's low enough. If not, I'll have to defoliate the tree. It's better. It's not great. I'll try taking a little more off the front there, kind of curving it down a bit and see how that looks. So I'm back out front now having a look at it. It's looking pretty flat, that canopy. It could be rounded a lot. That doesn't look good. It needs more rounding. It's starting to look more like a hedge or something. So, yeah, I'll try rounding the edges. I want to show the tree and leaf, but it may be a difficult thing to have it pruned to shape and still look good with the leaves on. So I'll try pruning, getting it more rounded, front or like left to right, and then I'll see what it looks like. Ideally, you would do all this work 3 to 4 weeks before showtime, but here in Canada, the trees are only outside for 3 months of the year, so the summer is very short, and I try and grow the trees as much as I can in the summertime. And if I were to leaf prune this 3 to 4 weeks before the show, I'd be kind of cutting my the summertime growing season down by at least a third. So I don't really want to do that because at this point in time, I'm still trying to develop the tree, growing it larger, higher, and thicker. So maybe someday, as it gets more refined, I can keep it more in trim over the summer. But for now, I let it grow in the summer and kind of try and get it ready for the show. So I'm trying to curve this canopy now, so I'll continue to take more leaves and more shoots off at the side here, hoping I still have enough leaves on the canopy that it looks presentable for the show. I'm having a look at the tree now, and that's looking much better. A little more rounded on top, it looks better. There's still enough leaves, I think, that I can get away with keeping the leaves on the tree. I will do some more refinement. I can see some more leaves coming off this corner. Yeah, and a little more trimming up. So I'll work away at that, trying to kind of refine the shape of the canopy. I've reduced the canopy down as much as I really can. and still, you know, keep enough leaves on to look like a canopy. So I'll show you what that looks like. That's kind of the front view. So it has a fairly good shape to the canopy. It's not really even though. There's a lot of, you know, thicker leaves, and there's a lot of areas still that, you know, don't have many leaves at all. It's not a really good dense canopy, but you know, it's probably as best I can get it for today, unless I, you know, like last year, totally defoliated the tree, and it looked really good defoliated. I had no problems with that, but this year I was hoping to show it in leaf, and I don't know. Ideally I should have leaf pruned it and pruned it back, the branches, you know, about 4 weeks ago, but I would rather get the summer of growing in than have it immaculately prepared for this point in time. I'll you know, keep refining it, trying to make it a better and better tree in the future. So that's what it looks like. I think the tree needs a good watering, so I'll do that next. All right, here I go with the water. I'll start watering the canopy, and then I'll go underneath here and get a good soaking in the soil. And I think that should just about do it. The layer of moss on the top of the soil is looking quite good. It's a nice length, it's nice and green. So it may just need a bit of minor cleanup before the show, maybe, you know, getting the tweezers and picking out any debris that's fallen down, and maybe a little moss cleaning around the roots, but nothing too major. So I'll do that, you know, probably closer to the show, a couple of days before the show. And then I usually, once the trees are prepared for the show, I either keep them in the greenhouse or indoors so that birds don't, you know, kick away the moss or nothing happens to them, so they stay looking good for the show. It's time now for today's update. Today's update is my acacia forest. I pruned these trees back midsummer, and now they're all starting to leaf out again. I'm really happy with the acacia seedlings' progress. Some of the trunks are getting close to 8 millimeters in diameter. So yeah, I think, you know, over the next few years I'll just keep letting them grow, pruning them back, and slowly developing that nice canopy on top. I think these trees will lend themselves really well to a clip and grow technique. You can see on this tree, I pruned it off at the top here, and now I've got 1, 2, 3 new branches forming, so that'll eventually form a crown and make that flat top canopy. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.